And time now for business news with Anne Waudo.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Forensic auditors may be back in Nigeria to look into the financial statements of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, that's the NNPC. The group managing director of the national oil firm, Dr. Ibe Kachukwu, told journalists in Lagos that the account books of the oil firm has not been reviewed since 2010. Dr. Kachukwu says the corporation now plans to update the NNPC's accounts. The last audit was carried out by PricewaterhouseCoopers on the controversial $20 billion allegedly missing. The NNPC chief has promised to establish the first edition of the corporation's monthly bulletin next week, which he says will be a lot more transparent. The Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company is set to list bonds worth 8 billion naira on the platform of the Financial Derivatives Over-the-Counter Exchange, that's the FMDQ, on Wednesday, the 30th of October. Guests expected at the ceremony include representatives of the issuer and issuing house and the former coordinating minister of the economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. The establishment of the NMRC in 2013 set in motion the course towards home ownership, from accessibility to affordable, adequate and quality housing in Nigeria, and the promotion of primary and secondary mortgage markets. Fitch Ratings has affirmed Nigeria's long-term foreign and local currency issuer default rating, that's the IDRS, at BB- and BB, while both outlooks are negative. The issuer's ratings on Nigeria's senior unsecured foreign currency bonds are also affirmed at BB-. The country's ceiling is affirmed at BB- and the short-term foreign currency rating is B. This reflects a more stable political environment after the uncertainties that surrounded the general elections. And it's a wrap on Business News for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Gimba will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Time now for sports news on the news at 10 with Ayo Balogun.
Welcome to Sports News. Starting off with the Afro-Basket Championship taking place in Cameroon, where Nigeria's D-Tigers bounced back from their opening game defeat to Angola by thrashing Egypt 97-68 in their second group match. Forward Adora Elonu led the way for the side with 20 points and 6 rebounds, while Georgia Tech's Edema Edeferioka grabbed 11 rebounds. Nigeria has a record of 1 win and 1 loss and will face Guinea in their next match on Sunday. That's tomorrow. Warri Wolves striker Bola Salami will lead an 18-man squad to a training camp for home-based players in Port Harcourt ahead of a CHAN qualifier against Burkina Faso next month. Reports say coach Sunday Olise will stick with the players he worked with prior to the AFCON qualifier in Tanzania. Well, this means that the 6 players from the league who have been picked for friendlies against DR Congo and Cameroon and Belgium will join up with the rest of the players. Others invited to camp include Ifeanyi Matthew, Tunde Adetunji, Usman Mohammed, Godwin Obaje, Ezekiel Bassi, Kingsley Sukari and Idris Aluma. Barcelona forward Lionel Messi is set for a lengthy layoff after limping off with a knee injury against Las Palmas in the Spanish La Liga. Now, the Argentine picked up the knock after clashing legs with Daniel Castellano with just 3 minutes into the game. Although he tried to continue, he was eventually substituted, and Barca have now confirmed that Messi has torn the collateral ligament in his left knee and is likely to be out for up to 8 weeks. And that's a wrap on Sports News. Gimba will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Pope Francis has kissed the forehead of a boy with cerebral palsy after landing in Philadelphia, coaxing a smile from the profoundly disabled 10-year-old. Pope Francis apparently sprayed Michael Keaton as he was being driven away from the plane this morning, ordering the car to stop. The pontiff got out and walked over to the boy, put his hands on his head and kissed him as his sobbing mother looked on. Authorities in Saudi Arabia say that the stampede that killed hundreds of pilgrims in Mecca this week was beyond human control. Saudi Arabia's most senior cleric, the Grand Mufti, told the Interior Minister, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef, that he was not to blame for the tragedy. His comments come after Iran and several other countries heavily criticized Saudi authorities for the way they handled safety issues. King Salman has ordered a safety review into the deadliest incident to occur during the pilgrimage in 25 years. Ukrainian Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk has vowed to ban Russian airplanes from flying into the country as part of sanctions over Moscow's support for rebels in the east. Kiev said the measure would take effect on October the 25th and would include major Russian airlines. Russian transit flights will also be banned if planes carry military personnel or dual-use goods. Moscow has, however, described the move as an act of madness, promising a firm response. Last week, Ukrainians imposed sanctions against 400 people and 90 legal entities, most of them from Russia, held responsible for Moscow's annexation of Crimea in March 2014 and the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine. And the main news again. The President Muhammadu Buhari has addressed world leaders at the 70th United Nations Assembly. The President has asked member nations to act on the word of the new Sustainable Development Agenda. An attack on the office of the Department of State Services, DSS, has left 4 people dead in Lokoja, the Kogi state capital. Victims of the flood in Kaduna State have been counting their losses. And Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has asked for an investigation into the stampede at the annual Hajj pilgrimage. And that's how's been on the news at 10 tonight. I want to thank you so much indeed for being a part of it. I'm Gimba Omar on behalf of the entire production team. Have a splendid night, friends. Good night.